Hey there, Russ Laggan here. You are watching the Big Agent Meeting. Today is December 19th, and if you haven't figured it out yet or not, it is holiday season, and I am ready to rock and roll. The hardest part about having this jacket is figuring out where to plug it in. Kidding, it doesn't have a plug. But I wanted to say happy holidays to each and every one of you guys at EXP and all the people outside of EXP that watch the Big Agent Meeting on Fridays. I hope you guys get the ability and the time to take some time with your family, have some fun, get some downtime, get some rest, recharge, and connect to the people that are most important to you. One thing I know for a fact is every time I ask the question, what's the most important thing to you? Two things come up. Family and God come up all the time with almost every single person I've ever asked. So this is your chance, right? If family's number one most important, then this is the time of year to act like it. Make them feel seen, make them feel present. By the way, one of my favorite tools for the holiday, airplane mode. Got something important going on with family, put your phone on airplane mode so you don't get interrupted and people feel like they have your undivided attention. Something that makes people really appreciate you when you're not distracted with your phone blowing up the whole time. All right, so today's show, we've got Holly Mabery going to be talking about her brokerage brief today. We have Leo Pareja and David Osborn going to be having a conversation in the leadership segment. And then, of course, our Agent Advantage Seller Shield. We're going to talk about that a little bit later down in the show. So with that said, let's kick off the show today. I'm going to start off with Attraction Advantage segment. And today, I want to just talk to you briefly about the most important thing in the world with attraction is making connection. This is a great time of year for you guys to reach out to those people that you've done business with this year and just say, hey, I just want to say happy holidays to you, happy new year to you. And for you, hope you take your business to the next level for 2026. Happy holidays. That's all. Don't bring up anything else. Don't bring up EXP. It's not a recruiting conversation. It's a building relationship conversation. So do the reach out, or if you like to do things like me and you got a bunch of them, if you guys have heard of a program called Slide Dial, there's a couple of different programs where you can actually dial somebody's phone and it goes straight into their voicemail. And then I can leave them a voicemail saying basically that, so I don't get stuck in a conversation with them. Most of them aren't going to pick up anyway, but I don't want to get stuck in a conversation because I've got to do 100 of these within a week. I just got to pick through them one at a time. So it's a great way to be able to drop a voicemail, and the ones that respond back, excellent, good, you're making that connection. But this is a great time of year to be able to do a reach out without any expectations, no recruiting reach out, just connect and build relationship reach out. So there you go. There's my holiday tip for agent attraction. So next up, we have the one and only Ian Wheatley, KGCI. Take it away, Ian Wheatley.
Thanks, Russ. Good morning. Certainly, 2025 seemed to be the year where the market was shifting faster than closing dates, and seemingly overnight, what was working last month or even last quarter was suddenly useless. So to stay ahead, you need real-time data and you need expert strategy. And over on KGCI Real Estate On Air, we are all gas and no brake heading into 2026. And that means that we are cutting the noise to bring you what is working in the here and now, so that way you can launch into the new year. And when we're live, that's when we're doing it best. Join me Tuesdays for Real Estate On Air Live. It's our weekly meetup with the voices of KGCI who are sharing how they are crushing it in their business right now. And as they say, the early bird gets the worm. And in this case, we're all in it for the worms. Wake up with Jimmy Nelson and the Elite Real Estate Podcast every Friday morning. Even he's sitting there taking your calls. Both shows are giving you the here and now that make the difference between being a pre-licensed student and an experienced agent that's out here building systems. So you are here at the Big Agent Meeting because you are here looking to grow. And some of you watching over on YouTube, I know you're not even EXP Realty agents, but everyone here is a growth-minded real estate pro. And it's for you that KGCI Real Estate On Air was built. So download that always free Real Estate On Air mobile app for iPhone and Android. And failing that, subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Just search KGCI.
All right, there you go. Ian Wheatley, always got great stuff. Great lineup going on today. And of course, over the next week for the holiday week, we've got a great lineup of stuff. Maybe a good chance for you to jump on and check out KGCI and podcast and listen to that while you're doing some other stuff. All right, so next up, Brokerage Brief. We have Holly Mabery, who is our Chief Brokerage Officer now. If you guys hadn't heard the news last week, Chief Brokerage Officer Holly Mabery. Take it away, Holly.
Well, we are on the downhill slide to 2026. And I know, like all busy agents, you and I, we're hustling to see everything that we can squeeze in right up until the last moment. But one of those big pieces of everything that we do business-wise is our year-end tax strategy. And this is where we wanted to give you some tips and tricks to go and have a conversation with your tax advisor, particularly knowing that there were some rule changes and law updates earlier this year. So first and foremost, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not your financial planner. And so as a result, this is just general advice. This is not specific to you and your needs. I need to give this disclaimer because, I don't even play an accountant on TV. So this is for you. Okay, so strategic year-end opportunities. Let's break this down. We've all heard about accelerating business expenses. So I know for me, I updated my corporation. I did that here this week. I'm going to prepay my MLS dues. I'm going to do all of those things in advance, any kind of business expenses. Yes, right down to the ink toner in my LaserJet printer. I'm going to get that done. Now, I want you to think in advance, what does that look like and how is it beneficial to you? Now, if you've had just a crazy good year, those are strategies to employ. If your year was a little bit light, but next year you're gearing up for one of your best years ever, okay, maybe you balance that out. I also want you to take a look at your retirement. And I know that's easy for me to say, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of different strategies that we can employ as self-employed producers. And when you look at it, whether it's a solo 401k, SEP, or a Roth IRA, I want you having those conversations with your advisor because it's going to make all the difference in the world. When you turn 55, when you turn 60, what do you have? It's not just chasing that next commission. And so if I could go back in time and talk to myself at 22 when I first got into this business, I'd be having a very honest conversation about how important my Roth IRA was and banking that money. Staring down the face of being in my early 50s, bummer, but I'm making up for it. So I want you to have those strategies right now. Also, I want you to look at your mileage and your mileage logs. There were definitely some upgrades this year as far as mileage deductions that we can take in 2025. And I want you to be prepared for those when you sit with your accountant come the new year. Finally, review estimated tax payments. This is the snake bite that nobody wants, right? That pops up and gets you. So if you've been making your quarterly tax payments, awesome. Are you on track? Just have a quick call with your financial planner. Make sure that you are on track for what's due come January 15th. If you have not made any quarterly payments, it doesn't hurt to make some going into January. So just think in advance of what that looks like. Now, there were some key updates with regard to what had occurred in the bill that was passed by Congress and signed by the president back in July. And first and foremost, I want you to think about the qualified business income, right? This is the QBI that actually has been really kind of enhanced. And I wanted to give you a little bit more as far as self-employed, what you can look at. And these are conversations for you to go and have with your CPA or your accountant. Also, that 100% bonus depreciation, that's been permanently reinstated. That's very excited. And I really want you to look at that. Now, if you work with a lot of self-employed people, these are tips that you can give to other folks saying, hey, I'm not an accountant or an advisor, but you might give yours a call. A few other things coming out of the bill from this past summer that I want you to be aware of. The business mileage. Yeah, remember, we're putting together all of our logs for all those miles you logged, showing buyers and going to listing appointments. Well, it's been up to 70 cents per mile. So that's a really big deal as we look at 2025 and closing it out. The SALT deduction cap was also raised from $10,000 to $40,000. And of course, this is that itemized deductions. I really want you to look at all your receipts, make a difference in what you're doing as you go forward. Then finally, the solo 401k contribution limits. That's been increased. This is a very big deal for self-employed. And then you look at your catch-up contributions. Please, this is one I can't advise on, but I absolutely want you to talk to your financial planner and your accountant CPA to make sure that you're right on target for where you want to be, particularly as you head down the road to retirement. So your action steps. Check in with your tax advisor. And this is something that you probably want to do a couple of times a year. If you've got a really great accountant, give them a call, wish them a happy holidays, and ask a couple of key questions. If you don't have a great CPA, I'm sure there are some folks in your area that would love to give you references of who they use and trust. Also, I found it every time this year, or every year, this time of year, I will go and I'll actually meet with my insurance carrier. And I'm looking at my homeowners, my auto insurance, my umbrella policy, because I know values are going up. Do I have enough coverage? Do I have what it takes? I also want you to check in with your financial planner. We've seen a lot of changes over the last few years and strategies to employ going into the next year. By all accounts, the last 3 years in real estate have been flat. We're seeing some really positive signs as we go to 2026. The Fed has dropped rates a couple of times. We're looking at least 2 this next year. The stock market is doing pretty well. So across the board, how are you setting yourself up for success? And then, of course, finally, risk management. See, how you minimize risks of auditors, especially being self-employed, is key. Do you have your receipts? How are you filing? What does it look like? And this is, of course, is the conversation you're having with your CPA. Guys, I want you to know that this didn't come from me. This actually came from our amazing tax team. And I want to give a big shout out to our VP of Tax, Renato Canero. He put this all together. He was thinking about all of you, and he wanted to make sure you had a very successful start to 2026 by wrapping up 2025 together. I hope you enjoy. And oh, by the way, this detailed information that Renato and the team put together for you will be in all of your state broker newsletters starting next week. So you can rewatch this and grab all the screens, or of course you can download it in next week's newsletter. Thanks, you all.
All right, so there you go. Thank you very much, Holly. Always making sure you guys know what needs to be known in this real estate industry so you take your business to the next level. So thank you very much for that, Holly. We appreciate it. All right, next up in the leadership segment, Leo Pareja on his podcast interviewed David Osborn. Check this out.
Thank you, David. Welcome to Pareja Unfiltered, where I talk to entrepreneurs about their journey. And one of the things I really like to showcase is the come up. So your name is legendary in our industry, and I've had the pleasure of knowing you over 20 years now, probably.
It's been a long time, Leo. I've watched you, and I'm sure you've watched me, and we've both been through it and had some wins, had some losses, and that's what it's all about, right? So I come back from hitchhiking around the world. My mom's a realtor. She's doing pretty well, but I didn't want to work with her. I never thought real estate was a professional business. I wanted to go back into technology sales. But I had no money. So I told my mom, look, I'm going to work for you for a little bit while I go get a real job. That's literally what I told her. I was like $1,500 in debt coming back from that. My credit cards were run up. So I joined her on her team, and she was probably doing 750,000 GCI at that time, or I'm sorry, 400,000 GCI at the time. We did 750 within 2 years, and we were the number one team. Got into it, and I drove a buddy of mine that had graduated college around. I sold him a house, and I made $5,000. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty interesting business. It's not really that hard. The hard part is finding the clients, but once you have the clients, it's pretty straightforward. And so I kind of fell in love with the business after that.
The final shift, you've created enough surplus capital where I know you've invested in others. And by the way, I have found that to be one of the hardest things, right? Like I can bet on myself, just like you have your whole career. It's like, instead of selling, I'll just build it. But then identifying who's going to actually build a scalable business. Talk to me about how you approach investments in others.
Yeah, so once I got this concept that I can build any business if I have the right talent, so I started starting other businesses. I started a Spanish language school. I lost $1 million on it, mainly because of the downturn. I started an insurance company. We did pretty well. I started a title company. We started a mortgage company. Some did well, some did bad, but most of them made some money. And so now I've got this mindset. It's all about the person. But also in the last crash, I'd always liked buying real estate. I didn't like the stock market so much, but I liked rental income, which, by the way, if I'd never done Keller Williams, I'd have probably bought 1,000 homes in Austin. That's probably where I would have ended up, because I already was starting sort of a rental portfolio, but I wasn't devoting a lot of time to it. So in 2006, I probably had 6 rentals. But then the crash occurs of 06, 07, 08. It's stressful for me. I think I was making 3.5 million net in '06, and by '08 I was making 1.8 million. Now, I know you're not feeling sorry for me. No one listening to this podcast would feel sorry for me, but I felt sorry for me because I also knew I had 3 million saved up and my overhead was 700,000 a month. So I knew I had like 6 or 7 months if things went to zero. And if you remember the crash, if you lived through it, it was like the blood was running in the streets. There were no transactions. Builders were abandoning things. You couldn't sell a home.
I remember telling my little brother in the bottom of 9 or 10, because he was really bummed out because he was a loan officer, but he's younger than me. And he's like, I am at zero. I was like, I would kill to be at zero. I was way in the other direction. I was like -4 or 5. I'm like, bro, zero is amazing. I'm jealous of, like, and I'll never forget feeling jealous for someone who had zero in the bank.
Yeah, I always told people like, you've got a job working for me as the manager, but I'm like attached to the ship. So if the ship goes down, I'm going down with it. So just let you know, if you win and do well for me, I'll give you glory and accolades and you'll get opportunities. But if you don't do well, I'm going to be firing you and hiring someone else. And the reason is because I'm attached to that damn ship. And if it goes down, I'm going down with it because I got personal guarantees and lines and all the things I've signed. So I get it. And by the way, you don't really understand life as an entrepreneur until you've had those kind of experiences. And that's why I think we have a commonality, all entrepreneurs, because we've been through so many of those ups and downs. So then it's '09 and I've stabilized and I'm like, okay, it looks like I'm not going to lose more money. Like I'm not going further down. And when I say I'm in this, 1.8 million, I have offices that are losing hundreds of thousands, but I have some that are still making money. So blended together, I'm doing okay. But I got 4 or 5 that we had to shut down that, I'm still got one that we have some conversations around who owes what. But we didn't do any personal guarantees on that one. So the guy's pretty limited on what he can do, but he's still trying to do something. Um, and that's where I learned also to not sign personal guarantees. So then I'm looking at the real estate market in 10 and I'm like, wow, I should start buying. So I started buying some stuff. And then in 2011, I'm like, pricing, and I'm lucky because I'm in real estate. I'm in the business every day. I've been an investor. I know it very deeply. And then I'm like, pricing is low here. Like this stuff, the rates are good, prices are low. And then by 2012, I was convinced. In fact, I was teaching my agents this could be the greatest time in your life to buy real estate. And I started teaching that class. And I bought everything I could possibly buy. And as you know, I bought about 800 single family homes. I bought $100 million worth of debt on real estate for about 70 million. And as you know, that market just from 2013 went straight back up. In fact, I was trying to build a whole business, stop buying this distressed assets, and it went away really quickly. But I was able to add enough to my portfolio that when that market came back, all this real estate I bought and then all my real estate companies, they both recovered at the same time. And so then I was like pretty wealthy. So by 2014, I was like, wow, I'm pretty wealthy. And then I joined a group called Tiger 21, which is an investment group. And I started my own company called GoBundance, which is a training education company for for millionaires, for people that are worth $1 million. And I just started learning about investing, and I made a bunch of dumb investments and lost a bunch of money. But I also, over time, learned, number one, I love real estate because I really didn't lose much money in real estate. It's very rare that you go to zero on a real estate deal unless you over leverage. I mean, you can if you leverage at 90%. I was never that guy. I was always at about 70%. And then you can also, yeah, if you have fake pro forma or somebody can lie to you, but I was always pretty good at like being skeptical. So the real estate I loved, and then I invested in like
The
startups
word
and
itself,
different.
pro forma, is a synonym for bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
pro
It's like,
formas are so silly, man. They're like that classic car that you see in the distance. It looks amazing, but when you own it, it breaks down every week. It's really a the pro forma is such BS, and yet you've got to have one to try to make a rough judgment of a business. But yeah, then I invested in like friends businesses and startups and lost all my money, in a bunch of different things, but I also made some good ones. And I began to realize it's just like real estate. If you want to make money in real estate, you invest with the talented operators. If you want to make money in tech, you invest with the talented operators. And it's just like hiring managers. You have to do that same level of due diligence. And if your buddy's starting a company in his attic and you want to give him 50 grand, just assume you're losing that money. And if you're willing to lose that 50 grand, just go ahead and write that check. But don't write the check and then be mad that they lost the money, because that's what's going to happen almost certainly.
All right, there you go. Leo and David Osborn having their conversation. That's conversation you want to see more of, by the way. That's just a clip of the long longer podcast that Leo did with David. So if you want to check that out, jump on eXp Realty, type in David Osborn, Leo Pareja, and you can check out the full version of that podcast and listen to the rest of the story and the rest of the conversation with David. All right, next up, we have our Agent Advantage, which is Seller's Shield. If you guys don't know what Seller's Shield is, check this out.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Brewer, and I am a product manager at Seller's Shield. I'm going to explain how our platform works and how it is seamlessly integrated with SkySlope. So here at Seller's Shield, we solve two problems in the transaction. The first one is that sellers are the only ones in a transaction unprotected when a buyer dispute or even a lawsuit occurs. Second, if the seller gets sued, the agent and the broker almost always get dragged in. We solve these problems in two ways. First, we have our gold standard disclosure process, and second, we have home sale legal protection. So first up, our gold standard disclosure process is designed to help prevent legal issues and encourage accurate disclosure. It includes an instructional video, legal tips, and our interactive seller's disclosure notice. Second, sellers have the option to purchase our home sale legal protection when they go through the disclosure process. It provides them with many benefits, including paid legal representation if there is any type of buyer dispute after the sale. Our gold standard disclosure process was created by industry experts. It's designed to save you time and reduce your risk. It guarantees you receive back a fully complete, signed, and easy-to-read disclosure form every single time. Best of all, it is completely free for both agents and sellers. So how does this benefit you as an agent? We provide helpful tips and definitions so that your seller does not need to ask you questions about the disclosure forms. Ensuring complete disclosure and offering home sale legal protection provides a competitive advantage. Informing your sellers about home sale legal protection proves you have fulfilled your fiduciary duty and provided the highest standard of care in the event of a claim. And finally, having your sellers complete their disclosure forms through Seller's Shield takes you out of the process, making it harder for you to be dragged into any buyer disputes. So fillable PDFs can create legal risk for you and your client. When a seller is filling out their disclosure form using a fillable PDF, they are able to skip questions, they have limited space for explanations, and it is difficult for sellers to edit their answers if they need to. With Seller's Shield, you will receive back 100% complete forms every single time. We have expandable fields for detailed responses. There are tips, definitions, and resources for your sellers to guide them through the form. And if they need to edit at any time, they can easily do so. So here is a peek at our gold standard disclosure process. Over on the left-hand side is a visual of what our gold standard disclosure process looked like with the disclosure tips that are built in for your sellers. In your agent dashboard, you have an activity field where you can monitor your client's progress, as well as see where they are in the process of filling out their forms. And then we are integrated with some top transaction management platforms. Now, our home sale legal protection, because no home is perfect, and even if your seller discloses accurately and completely, they can still be sued. This is why we created home sale legal protection. Sellers typically buy this, but we do have agents who purchase on behalf of their client. If there is any sign of trouble after the sale of the home, whether that be a full-on demand letter or lawsuit has been received, or even just a verbal threat, we will immediately jump into action. We hire the seller an expert, local, qualified real estate attorney. We provide them with full support from start to finish, and we will pay up to $75,000 of their legal fees to defend whatever that legal issue is. So this costs home sellers less than a 1-hour legal consultation. There are no retainers and no deductibles. Now, we are fully integrated with your SkySlope account. When you are creating an envelope in your forms account, you will see the option to add the forms through Seller's Shield. If you are selecting forms in SkySlope, any form that is supported by Seller's Shield will automatically be added in for your sellers to complete. Once you select all of your forms, you will see Seller's Shield logo on the top of the forms that are supported by Seller's Shield. Once you hit fill and send, you will see a brief summary of what Seller's Shield is. And then on the next page, you can add any forms that you might have missed. You'll see the full list of forms that are supported by Seller Shield. And then when you are done, ready to send to your seller, you'll click Send Forms, and your seller will receive an email to complete their disclosure forms. This is what that email will look like that your sellers will receive. It will have your name, letting them know that you are asking them to complete their disclosure form. They'll click on the link in the email, and then they're going to go through the disclosure process to complete their disclosure forms. First up, we're going to let them know that disclosure mistakes are the #1 cause of home sale lawsuits. And then we offer them our home sale legal protection. Sellers have the option to choose our 2-year or our 4-year protection, or they can say no protection if they do not wish to purchase. They can always come back later and purchase. It does not have to be purchased upfront. In their disclosure form, they have our legal tips and our instructional video. Both of those are straightforward advice from our industry experts on key areas of concern. As they are going through the disclosure form, they have the option to purchase inside the form as well. And then we provide them with a lot of helpful definitions and tips as they go through. They'll just click on the item and that definition will drop down for them to read. We also point out common problem areas that have caused lawsuits in the past, letting sellers know to slow down, disclose as accurately as they can. Our fields are expandable, so they can provide as much information as they would like. And then we also make sure that all required questions are answered before they can move on. Finally, they sign their name and choose the date, and then they will be able to sign all of the forms that they have completed within our platform. Very simple signature process. And then their forms are done. If they need to edit at any time, they can always come back in, make any changes that they need to. And then you and the seller will receive an email with the completed PDF attached. They also have the ability to download it from their dashboard as well. When your seller has completed all of their forms, the completed forms will automatically be sent into your SkySlope account so you can download them directly from there. And then, as I said, you'll also get an email with the completed PDFs attached as well. We have many agents who use Seller Shield across the country. Here you can see some wonderful reviews from our agents who love using Seller Shield. Finally, here is a QR code where you can log into your agent account if you would like to. Again, this is fully integrated with SkySlope. You can do everything that you need to from within your SkySlope account, but you also have access to an agent dashboard, which you can access with this QR code. Inside your agent dashboard, you'll be able to monitor your client's progress. There's a listing packet flyer that you can download, and then you can also see more about our home sale legal protection. Finally, just a couple of FAQs. How does this limit my risk and liability? Disclosure forms are legal documents, and sellers commonly ask their agents how to answer questions on the forms. These questions put agents in a difficult situation legally because they are not attorneys. Our gold standard disclosure process guides sellers through the disclosure, separating the agent from the disclosure and reducing agent liability. Additionally, purchasing or informing sellers of home sale legal protection fulfills your fiduciary duty and proves the agent has provided the highest standard of care in the event of a claim. What if my seller needs to edit? As you saw in their dashboard, they always have the option to come back in and make any edits or changes that they need to, re-sign and redate the forms, and you'll get the updated copy sent to you in the same way. What if my seller purchases the legal protection and the home does not close? If at any time the seller needs to request to cancel or receive a refund, they can always email our support team. And then finally, do we sell personal information to third parties? We do not sell any information. Last up, here is our information to contact our support team if you have any questions, you or your sellers. There's a live chat in both agent and seller dashboards. We have a support line that is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. And our customer success email address is answered 7 days a week. Thank you guys so much. We're really excited to be working with you. Have a wonderful day.
All right, so there you go, Seller Shield. If you didn't know before, now you know. Seller Shield is one of our affiliated businesses with EXP, so make sure you grab their info and make sure you use them because it'll help you take your business to the next level. All right, next up, we have one of my favorite people, Alyssa Specht, talking about university with the University Spotlight. Take it away, Alyssa. What's coming up next?
What's up, big agent meeting? Alyssa Specht here, back again to give you your EXP University Spotlight and let you know what is coming up next week. And my friend, we are keeping the momentum going as we get into the holidays. Let me give you a rundown of what you can expect next week, starting with Monday. Monday, we have Level Up with Caleb White and Michelle Martin. So Caleb White, he's the owner of the Yeti House team and a certified mentor. And then we've got Michelle Martin, who is EXP University Instructor of the Year for 2025. And they are talking about buyers. They're going to talk about how buyer expectations have shifted and what you can do about it. They're going to give you systems. They're going to give you scripts. So guys, if you want smoother buyer experiences and stronger conversions going into 2026, this is a must watch for you. Again, that's Monday on Level Up. Now let's take a look over to Friday. We're back with another big agent meeting. You're watching now, so you understand what this is about. But guys, next week on BAM, we have got a powerful leadership conversation. We are joined by our Chief Learning Officer, Mr. Brian Ellington, who's going to sit down with Ryan Rule to talk about leadership, to talk about technology, to talk about scale. So this one delivers big picture thinking with real world application. Looking again on Friday, we're back in the lab with the Lab podcast, and this time we're talking to Gusty Gulas. He's a top Birmingham team lead, and he's going to be talking about how his team drives high volume using a high accountability model, intensive training, and relentless long-term follow-up. Guys, if you are looking to scale your team and drive productivity, this one is for you. That's the Lab on Friday. So guys, add that to your calendar, tag your team, and I'll see you there.
All right, there you go. University always has a pile of things. Even in a holiday week, they've got a bunch of great stuff going on. You guys get a little bit of downtime. Might be great to pop in University and start to learn something and get yourself a jump start for 2026. All right, so there you go. That is a show for the week. Right now, last part is QR code. QR code gives us an opportunity for you guys to let us know on a scale of 1 to 10. Hit the QR code. Let us know what we're doing. Give us a rating and let us know if there's anything you like or want us to improve week after week. All right, so there you go. There's a show for December 19th, the pre-holiday show with the holidays coming in. For whatever holiday you guys celebrate, I want to make sure you know that we in EXP Leadership appreciate you, and we hope and wish you all the best of holidays for the holiday season. We'll see you guys coming up next week. Stay tuned for iConversations coming up next.